This is part 2 of my 3-part response to a video by Classically Abby titled, Feminists Want You to Feel Guilty for Staying at Home. Don't Let Them. You can find the link to part 1 in the YouTube video description area of this video that you are watching now, and a link to part 3 will be added once part 3 is confirmed to be available. As for part 2 of my response, I will get to that in just a moment. Hello, Internet. This is Sophia, the Red Angel, doing my best on this channel to bolster social justice, examine the popular culture, and promote the general betterment of society through the powers of logic, reason, and respect for evidence. If you like that, then subscribe to this channel, ring the bell, share, and comment. Anywho, in part 1 of my response to Classically Abby's video, I shot down her ridiculous claims that feminism wants women who prefer to stay at home to feel guilty just for wanting to stay at home, called her out on her blatant failure to even acknowledge that some women who have jobs outside the house do so out of this thing called necessity, as well as a bunch of other blatantly false things that she says. But as Abby's video goes on, so must my response.
But what I want to talk about specifically today is the women who find that they aren't as happy in a full-time position at work and would like to stay at home and feel wrong or guilty about it.
And why do they feel guilty?
Because the feminist movement has made them feel like that is wrong.
And now it is official. This episode I am making is officially now an installment of Fallacy Exposed. And your fallacy is the straw man fallacy. The straw man fallacy is something that you commit when, instead of engaging with the actual position and/or argument of your interlocutor, you instead come up with a more easily refuted caricature and tackle that instead. And I can say with a high degree of confidence that that is what you are doing here. Not only do I consider myself to be a feminist, but I have spent a lot of time communicating with other feminists, lots of other feminists, and not once do I recall in the feminist community having come across the assertion that women who prefer the domestic life over a career ought to feel guilty for that. Now, if a woman who prefers the domestic life tries to push that preference on to other women and pressure them into adopting the same preference, then yes, there are plenty of feminists who would condemn that action. But a woman who prefers that just for herself and only for herself, I don't recall ever having heard a feminist suggest that such a woman should feel guilty. Granted, I am not sure whether or not you are sensitive to the distinction between a woman preferring the domestic life for herself versus one trying to push that onto other women. It certainly would explain where you get your straw man caricature of feminism from, but it's not necessarily the only explanation for that. But that is another can of worms.
Something that we're constantly sold by the feminist narrative is that there's a glass ceiling and that women can't actually get to the top levels of their careers because they're not being allowed to by an oppressive patriarchy.
That is not feminism. That is statistics.
This is actually not the case, and it's been proven to be false.
No, Abby. You are entitled to your own opinions, but you are not entitled to your own facts. If you say that the glass ceiling is how things ought to be and that there is nothing wrong with it, I can view your opinion as being repugnant, as it is strongly at odds with any value system that I have respect for, but I cannot prove such a statement to be wrong. But if you are saying that the glass ceiling is not there and that the assertion of it being there has been proven wrong, then in that case you are objectively full of manure if you believe that, and you are a dishonest liar if you do not. The glass ceiling is a well-documented thing.
Women find success more holistically than that. They don't find success in pursuing a career trajectory to its very highest.
Many women do, but not all women, not by a long shot. And it isn't just women who do. There are plenty of men who seek their metric of success in a more holistic manner as well. Not only are house husbands a real thing that actually exists, albeit far more rare than housewives, but there are also countless tales of men who have quit jobs to pursue other career paths that were not as high-paying, but more fulfilling in other ways.
So many women choose not to get to the highest level of their careers. It's not that they're being held back by the patriarchy. They're actually choosing to do what brings them fulfillment.
Is this how the reality of the glass ceiling is proven wrong? If that is what you are suggesting, then yes, there do exist women who choose to concentrate on domestic life rather than pursuing careers or pursuing their careers to the highest. But there are also women who are actually being held back. Both groups of women actually can exist in the same universe. The existence of one does not disprove the other, simply demonstrating that there are women who freely choose to be stay-at-home moms or to work only part-time does not in any way disprove the glass ceiling, the pay gap, or any of those other things that are well documented to exist. Anyway, Abby then proceeds to tell her story of how she made her decision of what she wanted the trajectory of her life to be, and leads up to this.
That's what's so interesting. No one else was pressuring me. This was an internal pull that I started to feel, and I felt so bad. I felt wrong.
Sorry that you felt bad about not wanting your career to be the number one thing in your life, but I am pretty sure that most feminists would join me in being sorry to hear this. What did cause your feelings of guilt? I do not really know. I have not lived your life, or for that matter, any life other than my own. There are a few possibilities that I can think of, but they are so speculative that they really are not worth bringing up at all, except to ask, was there anyone in particular that you felt you were letting down by making that choice? Now, some feminists would suggest that you might not have really been truly free in making the decision to focus on something other than your career, that some outside force may have made you feel that doing so was necessary for something else that you wanted. Personally, of course, I would not know if that is the case with you because, as I said, I have not lived your life. But even if that was the case, it would not be you that feminists would wish a feeling of guilt upon.
Had gotten graduate degrees and were actually really high in their careers and realized that they didn't actually want to keep pursuing it to its highest level, that they wanted to stay at home more, that they were looking for part-time jobs, that they felt this really intense pull to want to be mothers and want to stay at home. And they felt bad about it.
One moment. These women got graduate degrees and were doing well in their careers and then wanted to turn their attention to more domestic goals and felt then bad about that? Might these women have had help from either a family member, an organization, or some other source that allowed them to complete not just college, but graduate school without falling hopelessly into debt? If so, then maybe it was those helpful sources, or in the case of organizations, whoever that organization could have helped instead, that they felt they were letting down. And maybe even that family member, organization, or other source may have had some feminist motives for providing the help. But if that is the case, then it is not feminism that is responsible for that feeling of guilt. It is the insane, out-of-control costs of tuition that is responsible for that feeling of guilt. The same out-of-control tuition crisis that is responsible for the student debt crisis that I mentioned earlier in this response presentation. These women should therefore simply be made aware that it is not they that are letting down their generous benefactors and or the other women whom they could have helped instead. Rather, it is the system that allows such an out-of-control tuition crisis. And likewise, if a woman is doing well in her career, almost certainly because she had help circumventing barriers that hold other women back, then if she chooses to focus her life elsewhere, she might feel as though she is letting down other women who did not have it so fortunate. But rest assured, she is not the one letting those other women down either. It is the glass ceiling that is doing so, and it is that, not feminism, that should be blamed for her feelings of guilt. Anywho, we have now reached another breaking point. I hope that you enjoyed this video. A link to part 3 will be added to the YouTube video description area once it is confirmed to be available. As for this installment, please hit the thumbs up button and leave your comment in the comments area below. Make sure that you are subscribed to this channel and that the bell icon is active so as to increase the chance that you receive notifications when I upload new videos to this channel in the future. Share this video with your friends and everyone else, whether by social media or by whatever other means. And until next time, see ya!